Hey, Fear Minimalist, it's Ophelia Lark of thefearminimalist.com. I help women of color break the fear-based emotional cycle that keeps them stuck in mother wound trauma. So today I'm going to talk about self-sabotage because I think that is one of the foundational ways that people struggle in relationships. It's one of the more prominent things that people struggle with in terms of finding not only just happiness for themselves, but happiness in interactions with other people. And so I'm going to share 4 tips of how you can stop self-sabotaging and actually allow yourself to achieve happiness, long-term happiness really, in your intimate relationships. So make sure that you keep watching. If this is the first time that you're joining me today, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it that you've taken the time out of your busy day to be here with us. You could have been anywhere else, but thank you so much. And you know, if this content resonates with you, I encourage you to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so that you'll never miss a video when I upload new content every single week. Complex trauma is a beast of a situation to tackle because it includes so much of our life from early childhood to our current life situations. And navigating through all of that can really make it difficult for us to see a way through to healthy relationships. It might seem foreign to us when we talk about building healthy relationships. It might even seem comical or fantastical because we have this historical backdrop of repeated relational trauma that has impacted our relationships in such a way that we have not necessarily learned how to interact with other people in a healthy way. And so, you know, if you grew up in a dysfunctional household where people hurled biting, demeaning comments about your appearance, about your worth, about your value, then you develop these mental scripts, these cognitive schemas, these core beliefs, these limiting beliefs that coalesce to form behaviors that can often be self-sabotaging. Because self-sabotaging has been a way for you to survive. So you shrink yourself, you make yourself small so that you don't anger the person who said that you can't do something, that you're not capable, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough. Because if you try to buck the system, you might get hurt. So self-sabotage for many of us has become a way of surviving. But if you're struggling with it, and if you're not getting things done, if you're not able to achieve your goals because of it, therein lies the problem. So you're in a catch-22. It's a way for me to survive, but it's also preventing me from achieving my goals. And that's essentially what self-sabotage is. It is a way of thinking and believing out of these cognitive schemas, out of these scripts that we developed from early childhood that create these core beliefs from which limiting beliefs can come from. And so it's the way that we think, it's the way that we believe that triggers actions that lead to not achieving our goals. So we do the opposite, or we do nothing, and then we fall short. That's what self-sabotage is. And so, you know, those things can manifest. Self-sabotage can manifest in a number of ways. Usually behaviorally. So we may procrastinate. We may be perfectionist. You know, if something is not 100% of how we want it to be, then it's a complete failure. That's a limiting belief. That's called a cognitive distortion of all or nothing thinking. So I didn't succeed, so I completely failed. Self-sabotage behavior can manifest as creating conflict or avoiding situations or experiencing imposter syndrome. You know, in terms of conflict, it can be the way that you engage with people that drives them away, that turns them off. It can be passive-aggressive behaviors, or unfairly criticizing people, or being clingy, or complaining about things that you want done, but you never do anything to get them done. And so that can be one of the reasons why you're not achieving your goals and why you're not attaining healthy relationships. So how do you get to the point where you can bring to a level of consciousness your tendency to self-sabotage? The first thing that I would say, and this is how I started to heal my own self-sabotaging behaviors, because I would self-sabotage all the time, specifically through perfectionism, avoiding things, and creating conflict in some ways, especially through passive-aggressive behaviors. Developing an awareness of your tendency requires you to be able to track something that you know you have not been able to achieve, but you have no idea why. It's like, this should be easy for me to do. Why am I not able to do it? Now, I will say that some of this can come from narratives of shame that we still carry, narratives of self-doubt that we still carry. And so it may take you working with a therapist or a coach to be able to unpack some of that. So I don't want to diminish the struggle and the pain that you experience from not being able to achieve something. Because yes, it could be, it may be that you are self-sabotaging, but it may be this unresolved grief that you're dealing with that needs to be worked through first, to realize that you're in such a state of pain that self-sabotage seems the only reasonable approach to dealing with that. Remember I said that self-sabotage can be a survival technique, okay? So be kind to yourself. Give yourself some grace, if you want to use that word, to allow yourself to work through that. I've included a behavioral tracker. It's kind of like my feelings tracker, but it is specifically targeted at a goal. And so you are saying, this is something that I want to accomplish. I set the goal, and then what kind of automatic thought comes up as a result of me setting that goal? What thought do I immediately have when I say I want to go back to college, or I want to start a business, or I want to pursue an intimate relationship? Whatever it is, what thought immediately comes to mind? So that you want to be able to track those things. And then the feeling associated with it, with the body sensations that arise as a result of setting that goal. And then you want to identify patterns. I've included that behavioral tracker in the description below, so make sure you download that resource to help you start developing that awareness. The second tip is to identify a recurring theme that underlies these self-sabotaging behaviors. So through the behavior tracker, you've been able to set the goal, establish what the goal is that you're trying to achieve, and then what automatic thoughts come up as you set this goal, what feelings are associated with that, what body sensations emerge as a result of these feelings and thoughts, and now we're identifying the behavioral pattern. So what is the common denominator here in terms of you not being able to achieve this goal? So it's not necessarily I'm not necessarily talking about, I have these thoughts, or I have these feelings, or I feel these particular things in my body when I set this particular goal. So maybe I'm setting, like I mentioned earlier, maybe you're setting a goal to get married, or, pursue an intimate relationship, or you're setting a goal to go to college or to start a business. Or it could be anything like that. But there is this recurring theme that underlies the feelings that you have, the thoughts that you have, and how you feel it in your body. When I'm talking about patterns and themes, I'm talking about things like fear and shame, disappointment, things that really knock at the heart of this goal, the things that you have your sights on to achieve. It is really the overall picture, the larger picture, not just the feelings and the thoughts that you're having, but why you're having the thoughts, the feelings and the sensations in the first place. Well, because I'm scared. I'm scared that I'm not going to succeed. Or I'm ashamed that I'm doing this for the 5th time because I couldn't get the job done the first 4 times. It just feels like I'm inadequate, right? That's the pattern. That's what I'm talking about. So when you are mapping out the things that are associated with this goal that you can't seem to get achieved. After you identify the thoughts and the feelings and the body sensations that come along with it, you want to figure out what is the overall thing? What is the common denominator here? It could be fear. It could be shame. It could be doubt. So that's what I'm getting at when I talk about identifying the pattern. The third tip is to begin to create distance between your true self, who you truly are at your core, and the thought or limiting belief that you're having. This is called mind-body diffusion. And so you can do this through a number of techniques. One of the ways, let's say that on your behavior tracker, you identify the pattern that, I'm scared or I'm ashamed. And that connected to the limiting belief that I can't do anything right or I'm not good enough. So let's say the limiting belief is that I'm not good enough to do this. You can begin to create distance between that thought that you're having, I'm not good enough, and who you truly are. So let's put I over here. Not good enough is the thought. So as you separate those two things, you become the observer of that thought. You're not fused with it. You're not so linked and woven with the thought that it is a part of your identity, that you believe that's who you are. I believe that I'm not good enough. I believe I'm a failure. I am. But when you separate I from whatever the thought is, then you can visualize yourself being empowered enough to impact that, to change that thought in some kind of way. Because the thought is outside of you now. It's smaller than who you are. And so you can implement strategies and tools and techniques toward that thought to make that thought become different. And so one of the ways in therapy in particular, there's a technique that therapists use called acceptance and commitment therapy. ACT is a newer version or sort of an add-on to cognitive behavioral therapy. And so basically it is called acceptance and commitment because the idea is for you to turn toward the pain, to accept that this has happened to you, not excuse it, but to say, this has happened to me. I'm not going to be in denial about it. And then you commit to actions that help you to change your relationship with the thoughts that you're having, with the things that are holding you hostage, with the things that lead to self-sabotage, right? So I am over here. This is my true core identity. This is who I am inherently. Despite all of the distractions, despite all of the other things that have come and try to fuse with me, the thoughts, the beliefs, the opinions, the ideas, right? Those are things that have come as a result of me being an inhabitant on this planet. But I am who I am. And those things can become separate. Those things are separate from me. So rephrasing the limiting belief, I am not enough or I'm not good enough, can then become, I am having the thought that I'm not good enough. So if I'm having the thought, that means I can look at the thought and say, you may not be right. You may be an imposter or an imposer. And so if you're imposing, that means that I can do something to get rid of you, right? I'm having the thought that, but I can change those thoughts. I can do what I call thought on a cloud. Put the thought on a cloud and let the cloud pass. Clouds are such that they never, the cloud doesn't recycle. It doesn't, the same cloud doesn't come around again. Once that cloud is passed, it's gone forever. So if we put those thoughts on a cloud and you say, I'm having the thought that I am not good enough, float away. I'm having the thought that I might be good enough to do this. Because now you're impacting that thought. You're saying, I can change this. Let's say I don't want to have that thought that I'm not good enough. Let's say that I want to have the thought that I don't know if I can succeed, but I can damn sure try, right? You keep practicing enough, you separate it from the thought, it becomes then the thought, maybe now, I want to try that. I think I'm good enough to try it. I am capable of doing this. I've done things like this in the past. The thoughts become different. But when when the thought is you, when you think that I am not good enough, and you can't see a difference between you and the thought, that's what keeps you stuck. And so diffusing that, breaking those apart, creating distance, separating you from the thought helps you to create an approach that eliminates that thought or diffuses that thought in such a way where it dismantles self-sabotaging behavior. And the fourth tip is to develop an ongoing support plan so that you can continue to work toward achieving your goals and to ensure that you don't fall back into those self-defeating behavior patterns. So begin by leaning into, reach out to, and lean on those healthy relational supports that you've been working on building. These are people that you've established relationships with who have demonstrated to you over time that they're going to show up on time. They're going to keep their word. They're going to hold space for you in healthy ways. And you've also demonstrated the same thing to them. Reach out to those people. Ask, and these are probably going to be, not just one or two people, it may be 4 or 5 different people. And that's really what you need. You need that network so that you don't overuse or lean too much on one person. Also, you want to break down your tasks into manageable chunks so that you can actually start seeing progress little by little. Sometimes we have these goals that are so big, we wonder why we can't get them done. Because it's just like, oh, I don't really have an end. I have an end in sight, but I don't really know how I'm going to get there. There are no step-by-step potential ways to get there. It's just kind of like, oh, I want to set this goal and I want to do it. But you have no clue how you're going to get there. So breaking things down into manageable chunks. In my program, in my coaching practice, I help people honor their commitments to their goals by setting up what I call 4 recovery codes of honor. And so one of the ways that you do this is you start recognizing how your environment is set up either in a way to hamper your success or to promote your success. And then from there, you are able to engage in behaviors that keep you motivated and that reinforce your commitment to honoring the goals that you've set for yourself. And then it may be that you need to change your environment to be able to keep your commitment to your goals. I know I had to do this when I was breaking, my diet, breaking off from foods that didn't no longer serve my body. And so it was like, I cannot bring boxes of cookies into my house or bags of chips because I'm going to eat them. If they're there, they're going to get eaten. And so training myself to do that, changing my environment, helped me to break my relationship with those things. And sometimes it's also changing, not necessarily the environment because, some things are where they are, but maybe taking a different route. Maybe I don't drive by the donut shop every time, I can take a different route or drive by the fast food restaurant that I love to go to. Take a different route and promise yourself, say to yourself, I'm not doing this because I'm punishing myself. I'm doing this because I want to have a different outcome. I don't want to feel my stomach bubbling just because that hamburger is good going down. But once it starts to digest, then I'm having all kinds of problems, right? The goal is to create this behavioral repertoire where you are implementing these new personal and interpersonal habits that lead to you getting your needs met and your goals accomplished, as well as achieving the relational intimacy and togetherness and connectedness that you desire. So now you know 4 tips to help you stop self-defeating behaviors so that you can have long-term happiness in your life and relationships. Be sure to download my free behavioral tracker that will help you begin developing that awareness of self-sabotaging behaviors so that you can learn how to stop them and create replacement behaviors that will get you to the goals that you desire for yourself. So be sure to click that link below to get that behavioral tracker. If this content resonated with you, be sure to let me know by connecting with me on Instagram at Fear Minimalist, on Twitter at Fear Minimalist, and on Facebook at Fear Minimalist. Hopefully we can have a more in-depth conversation about healing the mother wound and complex trauma. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for being here today. If you liked this video, hit the like button below, share with your friends, drop a comment below to let me know one thing you took away from this video. Hopefully we can create a conversation around that moving forward. And be sure to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, click the notification bell so that you'll never miss a video when I upload new content every single week. And one last thing, remember that the sun is going to rise and shine bright tomorrow. The question is, are you going to rise with it and allow your best self to shine? I hope you do, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.